How do I constantly find new ideas for a screenplay? There is a method that will stop you having to search for ideas, because this method will give you an infinite number of ideas. Writer's block is something I don't know, and there's only one reason why not. I don't want to put it off any longer and start straight away. You have to find a basic idea, that's all. An idea that fascinates you the most. This idea should be the basis for many other screenplay ideas. How does that work? Imagine your basic idea as the essence, and the many other screenplay ideas that result from it are equations that essentially express this idea in different ways. I have many finished scripts in my drawer. I have already filmed one as my multiple award-winning feature film, and the other gradually coming along. And they all express a single idea and tell this essence from different perspectives. So different that at first glance you don't even realize that it's the same essence. Fairy tales are nothing else. Most fairy tales are equations of one and the same essence. They express the laws of synchronicity, such as duality and attraction, and disguise these secret teachings in popular stories. Take the fairy tale of the ugly frog who is kissed by the princess to become a prince. The idea behind it, the princess's own repressed personality part, which represents the duality minus, projects itself in the frog, the duality plus. This shadow must be accepted and both transform into one, the unity. It is the same essence as in The Beauty and the Beast or The Ugly Duckling and so many others. The Bible stories are other examples that personify the cosmic laws such as manifestation and transformation and express them in such a way that they can of course be misinterpreted literally, which is usually the case. However, you have to be a total specialist in this one basic idea to come up with as many equations as possible. Those basic ideas should be patterns or phenomena which are found anywhere in different forms, because our world is built up from patterns which manifest in various ways. For authors and filmmakers, there is a basic idea structure, a pattern that is also in everything, as it is a natural developmental process. This is why it is almost always applied, and it is in the best scripts. We are talking about the hero's journey. Here are the stages of the hero's journey, which always involves a transformation process. Here are two examples. The first one is very basic, but represents the pattern as well. The second one is much better, but also represents the pattern. Because to stand out with your idea, it should be different than the ideas of others. It should be best something new. Even if the basic idea, the pattern is found anywhere, also in many other movies. Changing views is what everybody brings forward. Here we go. Basic idea: denying yourself leads to suffering. Accepting yourself leads to happiness. Possible stories to it. First, the loser protagonist works as a cashier in a supermarket, is alone and an alcoholic. In his free time he likes to write, but his only friend, another loser, tells him that it is nonsense, so he is not believing in himself and sees his life as unchangeable. He commits a near-death car accident while drunk. At this moment, a vision appears to him where he sees himself as a writer. After he is discharged from hospital, he becomes obsessed with turning his writing into a book. He succeeds and presents the book to a publisher. He falls in love with the publisher, but she is married. She tells him that she actually dreams of writing books herself, but as her husband wants her to have a secure job, she stays in her job as a publisher. He tells her his story, and she also starts writing and publishes her own book. She divorces her husband and gets together with the protagonist, who works successfully as an author-publisher couple.
Second, this example is even explained with the hero's journey, which doesn't actually have to be in the order. But for this example, I have stuck to the order.
First, ordinary world. The workaholic banker protagonist is a rich banker and lives with his wife, who constantly grumbles because he is making overtime. But he is not happy in his job, he only finds peace in an orchard nearby. Second, call to action. Due to a financial crash, he unexpectedly has to leave his job as a banker. It drives him to despair and his wife leaves him. He loses his penthouse apartment and has to sell his car. Third, refusal of the call. He spends the money on alcohol and drugs, he gets wasted in nightclubs and gets high on drugs. Fourth, meeting the mentor. One evening, he collapses from an overdose and the bartender provides first aid. She takes him home and nurses him back to health. The protagonist realizes that things can't go on like this. The bartender invites him to take part in a secret meeting. He appears at this meeting in a dark cellar where people in robes have gathered. It is a brotherhood for man and woman that wants to bring humanity to a new level of consciousness in order to save the world from destruction, which has its origin in the chief of the nation. They will set up their base there as soon as the mission begins. They say that the protagonist is from the same soul group as the other members of the Brotherhood and that he has a great task to accomplish there. He doesn't believe them and leaves them. Fifth, crossing the threshold, but after the Third World War breaks out a few days later, he seeks out the Brotherhood again. Sixth, first trial. At first he can't find them, they are no longer where the secret meeting was. He goes to the bar to see the bartender, but a colleague says that she hasn't appeared for several days. In the bar he is watching a war speech of the president on TV, saying that all the men in the country must be mobilized. The protagonist now remembers the words of the Brotherhood, that the destruction emanates from the head of the nation and that they are setting up their base nearby. He makes his way to the nation's capital and goes to the president's palace. There he is met by the bartender, who takes him to the Brotherhood. Seventh, approach to the inmost cave. Together they devise a plan to kidnap the president and replace him with the protagonist, who is modified with AI technology. Eighth, death and rebirth. The protagonist has to give up his old identity and becomes modified. As president, he paralyzes the think tanks of newspapers and publishing houses and installs the new belief in all media that the conventions of good and evil are only man-made and that the war was only initiated in order to expand domination over other countries and resources. The soldiers are recalled and the war ends. The president's former opponents celebrate him and the former hardliners make an attempt on his life. He has to flee and is taken to the mountains by the Brotherhood, where he goes into hiding in a lonely cabin in the woods. They left him a passport with a new identity and cash. After many weeks of total isolation and loneliness, he ventures out of the house and makes his way to a nearby village. Ninth, reward. In a pub, he sees on a TV screen that their plan has worked and that a system without a president has now been established. Satisfied, he leaves. 10th, the road back. He travels back to his hometown. 11th, resurrection. He buys the ground with the orchard and builds a house on the ground. 12th, return with the elixir. One day, the bartender stays in the front of his store and they become lovers. He enjoys gardening and creates a beautiful oasis of fruit trees and flowers with his new girlfriend.
In my examples, you can see my handwriting, my style. They are all a little bit mystical. So if you come up with your ideas to your basic idea, they will have your handwriting. I hope you enjoyed my content. Thanks for watching and see you soon.